Yep. Okay. So a little bit about myself. I understand we have about an hour tonight. And Elsa, can you hear me okay?
Sounds great.
Okay, great. So what we do here, I have two companies, both My Credit Team and Screen the Tenant. These companies, when working in tandem, create the ultimate exit strategy. So if you want to make more money with your deals, folks, you're going to want to do lease options. You're going to want to sell things on lease options. Because you make more money coming and going. You get a non-refundable option deposit. That's not the purpose of this call tonight. I'm not here to explain the differences between the exit strategies. I assume that everybody on this call understands it, at least to that degree. But one of the most important things is long-term capital gains versus short-term cash. And if you have a lease option, and if you sell something on lease option, then if you hold it for a year or more, then you can recognize long-term capital gains and pay a lower tax rate. And that's what we're all about, is making certain that we can keep our money. So it's a great exit strategy. And what we're going to do tonight is talk about how to make certain that people actually get to the closing table. And when I say get to the closing table, I mean there's really two closing tables here. Oh my God. There's the first closing table, that is where they get the keys to the property and they move in. And the second closing table is where they're cashing you out. They've gone to the bank. It's the happy day. They've gone to the bank and they're cashing you out, and they're putting their name on the title to the property. So we want to make certain that we get them to that second closing table. If you're doing rent only, although people do use our screening for rent only, it's because it's the Cadillac of screening. It's really the best screening out there, because you'll see in a little while what we do that's very unique is we get income documentation, and we do what's called a debt-to-income ratio analysis. Affordability report, essentially, is what it is. So I'll go through that in a little bit more detail. So if you're just doing rent only, we've got a really dynamic report for you. But this is really primarily for people who are doing lease options. And one of two reasons is there's two reasons why people don't outright buy houses, and that is because either their credit stinks or they can't basically prove their income yet. So their debt to income ratio suffers. So in either of those two cases, that's really what we're here to help do, is make certain that people can get to the end game, which is that second closing table. So we're going to go over all that and more. And next week we'll be answering questions. And please stay to the very end of this presentation, because I have a lot of goodies I'm going to be giving away, some freebies that you guys are going to want to have a piece of, because you'll be able to try me before you even buy me. So anyhow, please put my phone number, referring to this first slide here, put my phone number in your phone. I'm the owner of the company. I'm the owner of the My Credit Team company. My wife actually owns the screening company. You can see my phone number there. So I'm going to ask that you put it in my phone and use it, but don't abuse it. Please, you can call me yourself, but don't send your tenant buyers to me. We'll be giving you contact information how to refer people over to our screening process and to our credit repair directly. That's just for Elsa and the people that she's invited to watch this video this evening. Rento and free listings on the bottom. That's just going to be another thing I'll be throwing on a little later on, a way for you to put your property on our website. We'll host it for you, and we'll drive traffic to your listings. So I've been featured before with Mitch Stephen. I'm not sure of how many people have heard of Mitch. He's a very big and dynamic radio personality down in the San Antonio, Texas area. If you haven't heard of him before, he's got a lot of really good pieces up on his. As you can see here, whenever I came to do my presentation with him, I was number 131. I think he's well over 200 presentations, all from this industry, from the real estate investment community. John and Stephanie Ionati, I've been working with them for, 7, 8 years so far. Chris Prefontaine, I've been working with him and his staff for about 5 years. Joe McCall, if you've ever heard of him, I've been working with him for quite some time as well. And Jay Connor is another one that I've worked a lot with. Jay and I've done probably over 100 houses with Jay. He has kind of a unique model in where he will go and keep track of how many people actually cash out on his properties. And it's about 85% of the people actually cash out on his properties, which you say, well, gee, what happened to the other 15%? Well, you know what? People get divorced and people move out and people go to a different job or even die. But in any event, sometimes people simply don't get to that end game because of that. It's typically not because of credit or not because they don't make enough money, because those are two things that we sew together for them quite well. So feel free to talk. If you know Jay, talk with him more about it. He's actively doing quite a bit of investing there in the North Carolina area. He had referred me over to a gentleman. His name is Larry Goins. I just did an interview with Larry. It should be posting here in the next couple of weeks. Keith Baker is another one, and now Elsa. So I've been working a lot with the real estate investor trainers. Oh, yeah, by the way, there is another name out there. Ron LeGrand is another one I've been working with for, 5-7 years now, and he refers quite a bit of business to us as well. So that just kind of lets you know that this isn't our first rodeo. We've been doing this for quite some time, and I think we have some pretty dynamic services, and that's the reason why we've continued to expand year after year. So eat your sandwich, folks. If you're buying, it doesn't matter really how you're buying on lease option, if you're buying by owner financing, if you're buying by cash, fixing up, and then when you go to sell your property, when you want to sell it, you can easily put people with less than stellar credit, and have us fix up their credit over a period of time and have them work with them to make certain that they're going to debt to income qualify and eat that sandwich at the end of that lease option so you can get that back end money. Excuse me, folks. So this screen here, this is really the meat and potatoes. I'm going to take a little bit of time on this screen because this is where the rubber meets the road. This is where a lot of things happen. I'm going to actually exit out of this particular screen to go into a live version of this and really kind of show you the nuts and bolts behind whenever we actually do a qualification behind the scenes, how we arrive at whether or not they qualify. Think of it this way. This is an engine that does a lot what, I don't know how many mortgage brokers we have on tonight, what DU and LP do, which is their underwriting programs that mortgage brokers actually put all our information into, and it figures out, DU and LP figures out, do the people make enough money, and is their credit in a position to be mortgage ready? And then it looks at a whole bunch of other underwriting guidelines and puts them all in play and spits out a bunch of conditions that need to be satisfied in order for the loan to happen. Well, this kind of is a what if form, and I'm going to break away from this and jump over into an Excel spreadsheet that actually has the live version of what we just looked at there. So let's just say I have a purchase price of $150 and I have a down payment of $5,000, and the guy makes $5,000 a month, and a guy has a 611 credit score. Well, the credit score is unacceptable. You can see there's a red tag to the right here because so what they need to do is they need to contact my credit team. But let's just say, for example, this guy had a 740 credit score. Things kind of change. And the type of loan that is going to be selected, let's just say he's an FHA loan. But he only wants to put $1,000 down. When I do that, you can see the down payment's below the 3% that's required for the FHA. But if I bring it up to, let's say, 10% down, now there are a whole bunch of new programs that I can select from here that weren't there before. So on the fly, it's able to adjust what can and can't be done from a debt to income ratio standpoint. Down here in the very bottom, this calculates out the front end and the back end ratios. Front end is just what the payment for the house is divided by the income, and the back end is the payment for the house plus all the guy's other debts. Now, when I scroll up here, you can kind of see the guy has a GMAC automobile payment, student loan, CNAC. Now, this CNAC payment, I have it over here in brackets, 411, in a bracket, which is not a negative. So it's not actually subtracting. It's basically treating it as a zero. And the reason I did that is because this is a business automobile. people don't understand how underwriters look at certain things like business automobiles, payments less than 10 payments remaining on a car payment, student loans in deferment, all those type of things that we understand how the guidelines are affected. So I can work with the client, for example, and say, well, you know what? You got this landscaping business. How do you pay for your car? Well, I just write a check out of my checkbook every month. So I can basically let them know, hey, if you were to pay for that from the business and you show 12 months of canceled checks, when it goes to underwriting later on, you're not going to be hit with that debt. So now whenever you go to show your adjusted gross income on your taxes for the next 2 years, because that's what the underwriter is going to ask you for, now you know how much you'll need to show. In addition to that, you'll know to write off certain things that is allowable for the business. So that type of coaching on the front side to help people to understand what they need to do from a monetary and budgeting standpoint to get to a place to be mortgage ready is extremely valuable. So if you want to get people to the cash out closing table, make certain they understand the rules that they need to play by when it comes time to, okay, there we go. When it comes time for them to make application for their mortgage. In addition to that, there's the whole world of credit. And we're going to get into that too. I am a credit expert. I am FICO certified. I'm a member of a larger group of many credit repair companies across the country. So we share a lot of opinions. So we have a very high ratio of removals from the credit report. Credit repair, by the way, folks, is not a commodity item. And I'm going to get to it in just a minute and let you know kind of how why I make that statement. Please don't take that lightly. So back to where we are here on the presentation, this addendum to the lease option, basically the screen before that I was showing you here where we do all our back end ratios, you'll notice down here in the bottom that the Joe Sample, the name of my customer here, would actually sign this form. That it basically says above here that he's not going to materially change his income or his debt load between now and the time he applies for the mortgage, because we worked all the figures out and he qualifies for the mortgage at what we're stating here. So this is an addendum that you can put with your contracts that goes above and beyond. So use whatever contracts you're using, but I would put this in there also just to protect you, to make certain that you can prove that you checked out that this guy can qualify for the house. That way, if you find yourself in front of some judge later on, the judge says, oh, you set him up for failure, so you have to give him back all his non-refundable auction deposit or his down payment and up to 2 years worth of his rental payments, which is what under Dodd-Frank you could be sued if you set somebody up to fail and he proves his case. This is proof that you had a third party check all that out, a third party who understands all those guidelines, and you had Joe Sample sign the thing basically saying that he understands this is what he makes, so he can't falsify anything. The second document here is also an addendum that you can use. It basically says that they're going to engage in the credit repair service and they're going to follow our instructions. So you'll be given a tracking mechanism. You'll be able to follow along with how the credit repair is going. But in any event, these are built in. They're in there for your protection. Use them or don't use them, but they're there to help you out to make certain that you, again, can get the people to the closing table. So what does Screen the Tenant do? We actually do a whole host. We provide a whole host of services, and this is all free to you folks tonight. It's going to be free to you not only tonight, but anytime that you use us, because actually the tenant buyer is going to pay for it. That application fee that you take, you're basically going to have us take the application fee. You don't even have to get your hands onto the money. They pay us directly, and you end up with the nice 20, 50, 70-page report, depending upon how long the credit report is and other things, other elements in their criminal background and so on. But we issue the report to you, and simply that they pay for it. And if they engage in the credit repair, they're going to pay for it as well. So all these services, folks, cost you nothing. So we're going to give you a sex offender report. We're going to give you a criminal background check. We're going to obtain your tenant buyer's credit report. And then we're going to do the debt to income ratio or the affordability analysis, all within the underwriting guidelines of FHA, USDA, Fannie Mae, and Freddie Mac. We're actually going to get the income documentation, W-2s, paycheck stubs, 1099s, tax returns, or whatever it takes for us to verify their income. Well, you indicated that your rental application, that you have never been evicted, and the magistrate records determined that that was a lie 8 times. Yeah, buyers are liars. Have we ever heard of that, that phrase before? But anyhow, people sometimes are not forthcoming with their information, evictions and things like that. A lot of those things we have looked at thousands of reports, so we know where to find that information out and where the red flags are. So how do you actually send somebody to us for us to do our, and by the way, I'll get to the pricing in a bit, but might as well let you know now that the pricing for the screening is only $50 and it's paid for by them. If you use like a TransUnion, Smart Moves, or a Landlord Station, which is some of my competitors out there, which are really designed for rentals only, and that doesn't have the credit piece of it that we do, you're going to pay $30 with them. So we're only $50, so it's $20 more. Again, the tenant buyer is going to pay for it, but for that extra $20, you're going to get all these other features, along with the debt-to-income ratio, the disclosures, and the tracking mechanisms. So if by chance you had an open house and you already have the application, do you want to take the application from them and you want to fill out the application, there is a place to do that. Where my mouse or my cursor is going right now, I'm showing the landlord application. So I'm a landlord and I'm filling out a application on behalf of the tenant buyer. I click here and it walks me through, and I'm the one to pay for the application if I do it here. If I send my tenant buyer here, I'm going to give you a script later on. It's one of our freebie giveaways here that you can use to have people go to this website and fill out this form. It's something where you can copy and paste it, you can send it by text, or you can simply recite it. The tenant application is also here, but then there's a bunch of background information for real estate investors. Some of the presentations that I had done previously are here, so you can get to see those. And just some background information. The tenant buyers, there's information here about how this whole thing works for them as well. So what do we actually say to people whenever your prospect comes through Screen the Tenant website? Well, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to confirm the address and the company who sent them. We want to know where to send the package. Now, it's also in the application. They have to, it's a required field. They have to give us either your name, your email address, or your phone number. So that we want to know where to send the application. So we confirm where to send the report whenever it's done, and we tell them why Lease Option is valuable. So we're going to start to help you to chop down this tree. We're going to let them know why this is a diamond in the rough. Hey, listen, Joe buyer, potential buyer, you can't afford a toaster on credit because your credit's so banged up. This really gives you the option of living in the house while you fix up whatever's ailing you, whether it be credit or debt to income, and live in that house and have your kids go to that school district and put in a garden or whatever you may do while you're living in that house. You can fix up whatever's ailing you. You're not going to have this opportunity in life. Some people need to be renters and want to be renters, but some people really do want to own a piece of property, and they just got ran over by life. But they're on the mends and they can fix it up, and they shouldn't be penalized for what happened yesteryear. They should be able to go forward with their life. We're going to go over what's on the credit report. We're going to refer them to my credit team, excuse me, and offer a free consultation. And then we're going to walk them through getting their credit report if they don't already have it. Like we use Credit Karma. One of the really cool things about Credit Karma and free credit report are that they don't get hit with an inquiry. And the cool thing is they can check this report not only today, but in the future. And then so there's no inquiry. They can check it any time they want, and it's free, So people really love that too. So we ask them to send us their income documentation, and we don't discuss any of the details of the transaction. Hey, so can I have my cat and my dog? I got a pit bull. I got 6 pit bulls. Can I have that at this house? We don't discuss that stuff with them. That's up to you. We let them know that we're there kind of as transaction engineers to help them get to a point to where they can get to that second closing table. This is the website for the My Credit team, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about this as well. My Credit team is, excuse me, I'm going to take a drink here, a little bit thirsty. Got that Western Pennsylvania cold this time of year. Anyhow, my credit team, this is not a commodity item. Boy, if you think that if people say, hey, listen, I'm going to do my own credit repair, or I got Lexington Law working on it, creditrepair.com, you might want to rethink that. First of all, if they're doing their own credit repair, people think that paying off old collections and charge-offs helps their credit report in terms of their score. They couldn't be further from the truth. When you pay off an old collection or charge-off, what happens is now you basically have updated the date of last activity for a collection account. Whereas what FICO looks at is what happened most recently in my life, and it puts most emphasis on it or weight on it. So if I pay off an old collection, now I made that a current collection. And if it was 6 years and 11 months old, to take an extreme case, it would have dropped off next month anyhow. But now I can report for a longer time because I updated the date of last activity. Talk about shooting yourself in your credit foot. So when they think that they're repairing their own credit, people don't know what they don't know, and they think they're doing themselves good. You know what? Whenever they do this screen the tenant, they're going to get a free analysis with the credit report. I would strongly recommend that everyone at least take advantage of the free analysis. And the reason we do it for free is because they come over to us with a credit report already that the screening company had provided. So we're happy to make certain that your transaction goes to the right direction. Sometimes people come to us and they got 700 credit scores already. They don't need credit repair. Well, that's fine. We let you know that. We'll let you know that as long as there's no new collections or charge-offs, or maybe we can give them some tips and tricks to get their score from 700 to 740 because they are missing a certain category like an installment loan or a credit card or getting a high-limit credit card. But there's always something we can talk to them about as far as their credit's concerned. So credit repair is not a commodity item. And there's way more on that. Now I'm going to go ahead and kind of digress a little bit more. So basically, what my credit team says to your prospect is also very important. You need to understand that we're helping set the table for you. So we've been asked by the person who controls this property, and we know to say that, not basically the person who owns this property, because you may not even own it. You might just be bought it on financing or lease option. So we've been asked by the person who controls this property to help with the credit piece of this transaction. So, why is rent to own such a great value for you? And by the way, they call it rent to own. You guys call it lease option. It's the same thing. So we edify you and let them know why they should do business with you. And the reason that you and I are talking right now, Mr. Tenant Buyer, they want to see you at the second closing table. And if they didn't, then we wouldn't be talking, and they wouldn't care to get you to introduce us. So once they commit to enroll in our credit enhancement program, we let them know that this doesn't necessarily mean that they get the house. They still have to work out all the details with you, whether or not they have pets and the amount of down payment, the amount of monthly payment, and so on. And then we go over their action plan, and that's key too, to know that they even have an action plan. What needs to be done from cradle to grave to get them, again, to the second closing table. And it's not just us disputing the negative things. There's age of credit, mix of credit, balance limit ratio, and all the other buckets that really affect our credit score. So most credit repair companies like Lexington Law, what their business model is they'll dispute 1, 2, maybe 3 items at a time. And we've done extensive research and found that disputing all the negative items with each dispute round results in the greatest and the fastest in credit improvement. The more complex you make that dispute, the better, because the higher percentage of items that will be removed from the credit profile. You got to kind of think of things in reverse. The people at the credit bureaus have to get through so many files per day. And if you give them a simple file, it's easy for them to validate 1 or 2 items. If you give them 30 items to look at one time, it's much more difficult. They want to get that on and off their desk. So higher likelihood you're going to get a greater number, quality and quantity off of the credit report. Oops, I went backwards. Sorry, folks. Okay, so now going forward. But most companies, including Lexington Law, only dispute 3 items at a time. Many credit companies wait until you receive back your results from the credit bureaus to start another round of dispute. And this usually means that you have disputes that are only processed once every 45 to 60 days. So they drag it out by not only disputing very few items at a time. And by the way, we dispute, let's just say a guy has 10 items on one credit report. That means he has about 30 across 3. So if he has that many negative items, if I were to dispute 3, the best I could do is get 10% off of there. Now, I would dispute all the negative items. Most likely, I'm going to get somewhere between 8 and 10 items removed from the credit report. But you can see how a quantum leap like that would get me so much further down the road than just taking 1, 2, or 3 items off. So now in the second pass, which occurs 45 days later under our scenario, now we may get another 4 or 5 items off. We got half the work done here within the first 90 days. Whereas Lexington Law, it would take them years just to get through the first pass with each item. So that's why it's the business model, folks. That's the difference. That's the secret sauce. You can't be just waiting around and hoping that things come off the credit report. You got to have someone who's actively, aggressively going after these items. So although some people may think that other companies appear cheaper, only 3 accounts are being disputed every 2 months makes it take a really long time, and only work with a credit bureau company who disputes every 35 days, which is us, so you get more disputing for your money. Custom tailored disputes for the loan approval also help get the approval done faster. So customized disputes, we don't just always use the same template over and over again, hoping something falls off the credit report. We've got a history, a database to pull from. Thousands of items. So we know what works best to have items, a Capital One card from 2 years ago that was a late. We know what works best to have that item looked at, to have it removed from the credit profile. Many credit repair companies use the same letters, and this for all clients, okay. Only work with a company that provides you custom disputing, and work with a company who delivers results consistent with your goals of loan approval. Never dispute online. If you dispute online, essentially what you're doing is you're having your computer talk directly to the credit bureau's computer, who then takes that information and uploads it over to the creditor. And now the very information that was uploaded from the creditor to the credit bureau is what you're challenging, all the way down to any misspellings or anything. You're basically playing in their sandbox using their tools. So whenever you do that, it has to come back as accurate, because the computer is always right. That information that was uploaded from the creditor to the credit bureaus was what you're challenging. So when you work with us, we're going outside of that box and outside of that dynamic. It's a different way of thinking about this. We're actually going to write a letter. Now, that letter has to go to the credit bureaus and has to be opened up by somebody. Whenever that person opens up that letter, they become accountable to your case file. So you haven't given up your inalienable right to challenge the methodology that person used to validate your information. So it goes through a different process, which commands a different set of results. So there is a good reason that they can make it so convenient. Well, we're talking again about the credit bureaus. The reason why they make convenient, like if you ever go onto, like, for example, Credit Karma or Free Credit Report, and it says, hey, dispute your information now. That's what this is referring to. They want to encourage you to dispute things, because actually they get paid like 35 cents for each dispute, and the computer's doing all the work behind the scenes. So that's why they do that. And again, it just comes back as validated or verified. So again, if people are saying, I'm doing my own credit repair by disputing online, you got to scratch your head and wonder if they're really doing credit repair at all. Please just refer them to me. I'll go over all the differences between what they're doing and what actually works. Okay, so we also have a credit report guard program. This is reserved only for people who complete our process. So you go through the entire 9 months. And by the way, we're the only company that I know it's going to give you an end date on the date you start. Credit Karma, Lexington Law, Credit Report, creditrepair.com. None of those companies will let you know when you're going to be done when you start, but we do, because we dispute so aggressively. That's the reason why we can give you an end date on the date you start. Okay, so monthly inexpensive credit report guard is only $30. We dispute one item per month. So again, it's only for people who complete our service. We'll also give you a monthly evaluation, help you with building credit, age of credit, mix of credit, balance limit ratio, give you some phone support as well. So this is for the same price that you would pay to have somebody monitor your credit report. You can actually have a credit repair company like us actually going in doing disputes for you But again, it's only for people who have completed our 9-month service, and they have a couple of items still sitting on their credit report. Building credit. This is a way to build credit. If you are 18 years of 18 years of age or older, and you're a U.S. citizen, you have a valid Social Security card, and you have prior credit history. In other words, you have something on your credit report. And by the way, it can even be something like an old medical bill. And you have monthly household income of $1,600. You can go online, and I'll send a link to everybody who responds to this. We're nearing the end here. I want to get to my giveaways. To everybody who responds to this by sending us text us your name and your email address, then I will send you the application or the link to this application where you can get this $5,000 unsecured credit card, and you can also give it to anyone you'd like to as well. But this is a major player in terms of being approved for a major card. Major credit cards over $1,000, minors under $1,000. Secured versus unsecured. This is an unsecured card. I don't have to put up the $5,000. Now the application does cost $99, and whatever you buy during the first year, you have to pay half of it at the point of sale. In other words, there's like an online checkout counter. So if you play by those simple rules, then you're going to have this $5,000 unsecured card. Now you can't go to Tahiti and sip Mai Tais on the beach with this card. This is a card where you can only buy stuff from them, but they do have very useful things like Dell computers and things for around the house and gift items and so on. But if you want a quick way to have your score jump up 35 to 45 points, this is it if they don't have a major credit card already on the report. I'm finding about 90% of the credit reports that I look at don't have a major credit card already on there. So I'm going to offer some other coupon bundled packages here. This says use the coupon code that's listed below, which doesn't have one here, but the coupon code is going to be ELSA, capital ELSA. If you use that code, if you text to me your name, your email address, I will capture your phone number. I will text you a coupon code that you will be able to use for a free screening. It's a $50 value, and for that you will get. You can either use it yourself or you can give it to your tenant buyer. And whenever they go to the checkout counter, they can have that applied to their bill. And for that, then you're going to get your verification of income, your credit report, and your analysis, debt to income ratio, criminal background check, Megan's Law report, everything we went through earlier through the Screen the Tenant website. So the number that you will be texting this information to will be area code 412-242-2733. And I will say that number a little later on again, but again, it's going to be 412-242-2733. Whenever you text that, we will give you this and the script and the jeweler and the New Coast Direct. And I'm also going to give you the rent to own free listings, how to basically put your listings up there for a year. This is the script right here that we're going to provide for you. It basically says the great thing about a rent to own or a lease option is that you can move into one of our houses and you're given the time to fix up whatever is preventing you from qualifying now, whether it be credit or income. When you make application with us, you'll be introduced to our program. So in other words, we all have a program, folks, and our program it prepares tenant buyers to qualify for mortgages. The application fee is $50 per applicant, and the applicant is defined as each person whose income will be considered when you apply for the mortgage. Go to Pre-Qual Team, or let's just use Screen the Tenant. It's a more mature site. Those are both my sites, Pre-Qual Team or Screen the Tenant. The one we send to you will be screenthetenant.com and complete the application form. Okay, so, and it goes on to say that you're going to get a call from someone in the 412 area code number. So you'll get this screen. And by the way, folks, we also offer business credit. So if you want to have your business, have its own line of credit that is not tied to your Social Security number, that it's tied to an EIN number, and so you're not personally liable. You'll get the business credit is 1 year of a business credit coach plus 5 years use of the software. So that's the business credit piece of it. It costs $4,000 for business credit, so it's a lot different than personal credit. Personal credit is a lot less expensive. I'll get the pricing in just a minute here. This is the rent-to-own free listing website, at least the first page of it, and you could basically put your properties there. And people, if they find you there, I just send you anyone who finds you and fills out the form, I send the lead to you. Pricing: screen the tenant is $50 per applicant. Credit repair is $120 per month with no more than 9 months. And when they come to us through the screening service or through you, we waive the $79 analysis fee. We also waive the $119 setup fee. Now, that setup fee, that's very important. That gives you the tracking mechanism so you can track your you could track their progress online 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. So you're going to get a private portal to track all the people that are in our screenings, that are in our credit repair. Here's where that becomes valuable. Let's just say you have an open house and you have a bunch of people that apply, and you have 5 people apply for one house, and you could only give it to one person. So when you give it to them, what do you do with the other 4? Well, if they're in credit repair, you can go out and find them other houses. So they become kind of like your buyer's list. So they're under your wing, and you can track their results as you go along. And by the way, when you go to negotiate with a seller, you can say, hey, listen, I already have a couple people that are looking for properties in your area who are ready to move on this and have down payments. So it becomes a tool to have an active buyer's list. So business credit is $4,000 a year. Credit report card, we talked about that, and rent-owned free listings is free if received, otherwise $500 a year. So we're going to give free of text received. So if you send us a text to the number I've just provided to you, we're going to give you an access point that will allow you to have the rent-owned free listings for 1 year. You can list as many properties as you'd like. So that is the exit strategy here for your lease option tenant buyers. Again, put my number in your cell phone, 724-664-6078. And again, my name is Paul Ritter. I'm the owner of My Credit Team and principal in Screen the Tenant. That's my wife's business. And I'm the website guru for rent-owned free listings. With that, I don't know how I'm doing on time, Elsa. Should I open it up to the floor?
Sure. We're doing good on time. Some really good information. Let's see. I will unmute people, and then we'll see if people have questions. And you guys unmute yourselves with, I believe it's *7. What questions do we have from you guys tonight? No questions? Everybody overwhelmed with the information?
Elsa, you have to have a question.
Well, I kind of do. How long does it usually take for you to do one of the checks on people?
Well, that's a great question because, like, if you do something with TransUnion Smart Moves or Landlord Station, you get a decision instantly because you push that button and basically the computer's making a decision, pass or fail. I don't make a pass or fail decision at all. So, whenever you get your report, it's going to be what they need to do in order to be mortgage ready at some point in time in the future. But also remember, I've got to have a credit expert talk to them. I've got to have a debt-to-income ratio specialist. In other words, they're going to get all their income documentation in. We get a full criminal background check and a Megan's Law report. So it's not an instantaneous thing. So if you've got a meeting with somebody tonight, a buyer's meeting, you don't want to be having them make an application in the morning. You want to give it a couple of days. Typically, Elsa, it's about 2 to 3 days. It can go a little faster, especially if they provide us with like the income documentation up front and all the logon credentials that we need. But other than that, yeah, it's typically a couple of days, and we're working with them. And during that time, again, we're edifying your transaction.
Okay, and we got a question here from Rusty. Should we also hook up with a local mortgage broker to work along with you, or is your program standalone?
So you want baked lace and a hot pocket.
Should I look up with a local mortgage broker? Local mortgage broker is always best, Rusty. Yes, but if you want, either Elsa can refer you to somebody if she has mortgage brokers. I do too. I have mortgage brokers all across the country, but go to Elsa first. If she has somebody, she can help you out with it. If not, I'd be happy to help you. I've owned and operated several different mortgage companies. I understand what a mortgage broker, I understand the difference between a good mortgage broker and a bad mortgage broker. And here's basically what it is. The guy that has the right programs and it gets back to you, that's a good mortgage broker. So if he's approachable, accessible, he answers your texts, that's 1, 2, and 3. That's 3 bonuses right out of the gate there. And then all you really need to know after that is, does he have the programs to be able to do what you need to do? Here's what you want to make certain that they have. Make certain they have access to FHA. Make certain they have access to a program called the USDA program. USDA. It's especially if the more rural you are, the more you want to have access to that program. It's kind of like, it looks like the FHA. You can actually go up to 105% loan to value, so you can actually borrow more on the house than what the house is worth. So it kind of looks like FHA, but it has certain areas that you can use this program. So it's basically geographically constrained. USDA. And by the way, there's a site called USDA, I think it's usda.gov, where you can go and you can put your property address in there, and you can find out if your property is eligible for a USDA loan. If it is, that really helps you. If you're not using that in your marketing, you're missing the boat. You can say this is USDA approved area. So now people can get in with lower credit scores and less money down.
Interesting.
If you like that link, just text me. Again, text me your name and your email address, and then also text me that please send me the USDA link, and I'll send it to you. That way you can check out every one of your properties. I would put it on all my yard signs. I'd put it on all of my whatever advertisement you do with Craigslist or whatever you do.
Okay. What other questions do we have from you guys tonight?
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, yes.
So does your service qualify to meet the Dodd-Frank requirements that a licensed mortgage broker review somebody before we would offer them any level of financing beyond the lease option?
Dodd-Frank really is more of a conceptual thing in the sense that it doesn't really matter until you actually you're the one that gets sued. If you're the one that gets sued, then it really does matter. Dodd-Frank, if my deposition were to be put in front of any judge, and the prosecuting attorney is coming along and he's saying that you're not in compliance with Dodd-Frank, I would think that I would be offered as expert testimony in terms of credit or debt-to-income ratio. I've owned and operated several different mortgage companies. I don't have a license right now in all states for my as a licensed mortgage originator. So, and if they could prove that is the crux of their case, they may have a case against you if you would use me and have that as a defense. But I think the spirit of Dodd-Frank is what we're talking about here. And in the spirit of Dodd-Frank, did you set them up for failure? And if you can show that you had an outside, independent, well-qualified company do the debt-to-income ratio analysis, give you a criminal background check, give you the credit enhancement that's designed for the specific industry and has worked for thousands of people, I think that any judge with, in his right mind is going to dismiss your case. So I would say it's more of insurance than guarantee. So if you'd like to protect yourself against Dodd-Frank, I would think that I'm probably the best insurance you have out there.
And I do know from several people that I have worked with that have used Paul's services that it's definitely he covers everything. He does things in a very in-depth way. So you have all your answers that you need on that particular possible tenant buyer.
I will say this: I have not had to do any sort of deposition yet. A high frequency of people that go through our program do end up getting qualified for mortgages. I think that's protection level number one. And the people that move out are moving out under their own, under their own, because of their own reasons. So I think that's it. That's why it really hasn't reared its ugly head yet. So if that's, did that answer your question, sir?
It did. I do some seller financing on houses at the end of the lease option rather than let them buy out with a loan. So I'm just trying to make sure that I'm protected when I offer my seller financing.
Oh, that's an excellent idea. That's an excellent idea, because these are big potatoes for you. Whenever you're going to that level, you really there's a lot at risk for them. So you really want to be covered. So yeah, absolutely. I would definitely do this emphatically. Sure.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for the question.
We have any other questions for Paul tonight? One person had mentioned asset protection. I'm not sure exactly how this relates.
I have one question for Paul.
I can hear you. Go ahead.
Just one quick question. You gave a number, a 412 number. Can you repeat that number that you gave?
Excellent. Did I plant you? That's a great question. The number to get all the freebies that I offered, which include the rent-to-own free listings for a year, the script, the free $50 screen the tenant, everything else. I don't know. You even know what it was. I got it all written down here. But anyhow, all that stuff is area code. All I need you to do is text your name and your email address. I'll capture your phone number. Just to make sure you text it to area code 412-242-2733. 412-242-2733.
Thank you.
You've got some awesome freebies there for everybody, so I hope they use it.
Yeah, the business credit too is one of them. Then the link for the $5,000 New Coast Direct card. That's another really cool thing too. So it's really something to see. And really, the $5,000 card, if you get the card on it before the 25th of the month and you buy your $100 item, you have to buy $100 worth of stuff in order for it to report. It will report on your credit report on the 5th of the next month. So it can be, within, a 10-day time frame that all of a sudden your score rockets up. That's a beautiful thing, especially if you're sitting there, sitting right around, 580 and you need to get a 620 to qualify. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it gets them to be able to qualify at a quicker pace.
Oh yeah. And I'm using the 35 to 45 point range. I have seen 100-point improvements. It really depends upon how the report looks already. If they are starved for revolving account, and let me give you an example of what that means. I have a student loan, and I have a car loan, and I got a furniture loan. Those are all installment debts, okay? So installment is a different type of an animal. I get the thing, and then I get a coupon book, and I make my payments on it. And no matter if I overpay my payments, it doesn't matter. I don't get any more money, or I don't get any more rights to money within that account. So that is one bucket or one type of responsibility that FICO sees. Another type of responsibility is what's called a revolving account, which is a credit card. I get my line of credit, and then I can borrow up to that line. And as I borrow up to that line, I have less of that line available. And as I pay it down, I have more of that line available. And then within that framework, there's secured versus unsecured. Secured means I take and I give, $300 to First Premier, and they give me a credit card for a $300 limit, less some fees, and maybe I can only have like $250 usable because I have an application fee and that kind of stuff. But okay, so now I got my $300 limit. Now I can go and buy anything I want on that. I can buy my gasoline or my dinner or whatever. So I have the universal usage of that card, but I am limited to $300. So essentially, what I did is I took my own money, my $300, and I bet against myself that I will make my payments. Now, credit bureaus are actually betting the other way. So now I have this $300 limit. So FICO doesn't give me a lot of brownie points for that because I basically use my own money to hedge it to bet that I would make those payments. With an unsecured card, that's a totally different world. And now you can see why FICO gives way more brownie points to an unsecured card, and big limits are better than little limits. And that's the power of that card. That's why it makes it where you can jump the score quite substantially. And folks, I'm a credit expert. I have been in this industry since 1997, and I have seen all kind of things come and go. And I've seen where, well, let's buy this trade line for $10,000. That's going to report on my credit report for a month. That stuff is illegal. FICO's figured all that out. FICO won't give credence to something like that. Authorized user versus the primary. There's a totally different things. I slap my child on my credit card. Yes, it does help them, but not to the degree of having your own credit card. So trust me when I say, I know what I'm talking about in this particular bucket, the revolving bucket, you have to have something open and active. And so if I had a card 3 years ago and I had a $10,000 limit, but I've since closed that card, no, that's not going to give you the brownie points you need with FICO. So the free analysis is really the tool that you use to understand, to have a guy like me come in and take a look at it. And this is open to any one of you, the people listening tonight, or to the re-recording, or the whenever you replay this, the replay of this. You want to have me do a free analysis of your credit report. That original number that I gave on the first slide, actually it's on the slide, it's on the screen right now, 724-664-6078. If you dial that, tell me you referred to me through Elsa, I will give you the free credit analysis. And that goes for anybody in the audience that is a real estate investor and wants me to just kind of do a quick brush up and give them some tips and tricks on their own credit too. Sorry for the long answer.
That's awesome information, though.
It's easy when you're passionate about what you do. And I jump out of bed in the morning. I love what I do. I love helping people out. And people, we are in such a noble profession here. And if you don't get that, feel that in your heart, and know that to be true, that you're helping people out who otherwise can't get houses and can't be in the community that they want. And their kids can't grow up in the neighborhood that they want. And they can't go to the schools they want. If you don't feel that when you give someone a house who basically couldn't have otherwise got that without you, if you don't feel that connection in the community, you're really missing the mark. This is such a noble profession, and what you and I and Elsa and this whole industry is doing, we really should give ourselves a good sound pat on the back, because we are the stewards of this economy and this society, and we're the shakers and the movers. We're the ones making this happen. And that's when you work with us, when you work with my credit team, when you work with Screen the Tenant, that's our mindset. And everybody in my company shares that. So we do what's right. We're not here to try to beat people out. People ask me for their money back. I very rarely say no, unless I feel like someone's trying to take advantage of me. Someone calls me up and says, my truck broke down, can you refund my payment? The answer is always yes, because I'm not here to try to harm people, but again, I don't want to be taken advantage of. But again, this is all about helping people out. I have a very Christian background and Christian ethic to me, and that's kind of how my company has gotten to be where it is right now. So if that's where you're coming from, and if that's what you want to structure your business under, that type of umbrella, it's good. It's fair to make money. We should make money in this business. We are taking a lot of risk. But in the same token, as long as you position yourself with the appropriate people like Elsa, people that are there to basically help you and endorse you, and make certain that they're not going to say anything to mess up your deal in any way, shape, or form. The industry experts, the people that have been around for a while, and you know who they are, and you know who they're not. So, I would love to do business with as many in your audience as if they come to me through Elsa, they're already got a check mark by their name. They got a star by their name, because I'm looking forward to talking with them, and I'm looking forward to working with them. Sorry again for the long answer, Elsa. I'll get off my soapbox.
Not a problem. We have other questions? Last chance. All right. Well, we will have Paul back next week on Tuesday, same time, 8 o'clock Eastern. And so have your questions ready for him, and he'll be able to answer questions on how you can help out your tenants, your tenant buyers, whatever the case may be. Yourself. So, if anybody needs anything else, you know how to reach me. And thanks for being on here tonight. And thanks so much, Paul, for doing this.
Yeah,
I hope everybody got a lot of good information.
It's been a real delight, real slice, and I'm looking forward to answering more questions. I know I'll have some more material next week, too. We can kind of even dive into a little bit deeper some of these things, concepts that I've introduced tonight. So I'll have some more material for you as well. Thank you again, Elsa.
Everybody have an awesome night, and hopefully you'll be on next